Well, the trade rumors have begun already. A team set to implode and a star could be on the move. But should the Sixers still be interested? We'll break all of it down and more here on Philly Take with RB.
Perfect.
What is up, everybody? RB here. Welcome into the show. You know the drill by now. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content. Subscribe, ring the bell. Don't miss any of the coverage. We were live last night as the Sixers finally had their win streak snapped against the Pacers, but they look to bounce right back against the Celtics today. We'll be live for that game. We're live every single game right here on YouTube. But in the midst of all this game coverage, some big bomb dropped yesterday. A lot of news, and it surrounds the Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine. That is right. They are already looking for a trade, and things could be developing. I sat here all summer, and I said the Bulls could be that one pivot team. They could be that one franchise that is really kind of stuck in the middle in no man's land, and they could look to move some pieces, and here we go. They start off the season 4-7. They're already going downhill, and now LaVine's name is popping up, but it's interesting. Things have flipped here. Should the Sixers still have interest? That's my question to the people out there. Let me know down below. Should the Sixers still want to go out and acquire Zach LaVine? We'll talk about all of it, but before we jump into it, a shout out to our sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. They're one of the world's largest online therapy services, and I know people out there listening may have gone through some tough experiences before. You know somebody who has gone through mental health issues. It's a serious topic, and I've definitely gone through some tough situations as well. I wish there was a more accessible outlet for myself in the past, like a BetterHelp, because their mission is to make therapy more affordable, and it makes finding a therapist so much easier because it's online, it's remote. All it takes is going on the computer or the phone and doing a couple clicks, and boom, BetterHelp can help match you with a professional therapist within just a few days, just by answering a couple questions. And then once you're linked with that therapist, you can talk via text, chat, phone, video call, message at any time at your convenience. They are there for all of your needs and to help you. And if your therapist is not the right fit for any reason, you can switch to a new therapist without having to stress about the insurance and the extra fees, etc. It just makes the process a lot more streamlined. And I hate having to go to the office and then wait, and then you have all these appointments, and then they're trying to switch things around. No, BetterHelp just makes it so much easier, direct right to you to help suit your needs. So if you are struggling or you know somebody who is struggling, honestly, please consider online therapy with BetterHelp, and you can get 10% off your first month by clicking the link down in the description or going to betterhelp.com/PhillyTake. Be sure to, encourage somebody to reach out. You never know what they could be going through. But let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, because yesterday Shams puts out this report, NBA teams probing the availability of the Bulls' two-time All-Star Zach LaVine, and there is increased openness from both sides about exploring a trade. Now, in this article, I didn't read the whole thing, but he kind of just talks about the fact that the Bulls are once again in the midst of a tumultuous start. They had that incident on opening night where they had a players-only meeting in the locker room, and Billy Donovan spoke about that, and it just seemed like things are not clicking for that franchise where, we said if they came into the season and things started to go downhill, remember, DeMar DeRozan's on a contract here. He could be on the way out. They were already shopping Zach LaVine this past summer. So there are guys that have been available, and there's another target we'll talk about who's really, really high on the market right now already. But in addition to that, Daniel Greenberg, who covers the Chicago Bulls, and we heard his name before in the offseason, he says that the Miami Heat, the Los Angeles Lakers, and yes, the Philadelphia 76ers are expected to show interest in trading for Zach LaVine per Shams on the Rally. Now, again, my question is, should the Sixers want Zach LaVine? I'm going to be completely honest here, man. No. As of right now, no. And I will tell you why. But I think it's also important to say my answer, your answer, anybody's answer could change. And that's the commodity that the Sixers have here. That is the benefit that they have from doing the trade when they did and getting the assets back that they got. The Sixers can evaluate. They can weigh out their options. They can wait 2 months and see, okay, which team goes down, which team goes up, what other options become available, and then they can evaluate their options from there and assess, okay, here's what we need. Here's our biggest need, right? Someone may get hurt. Someone may, start playing bad or playing better and you don't, have to address a need there anymore. So the Sixers have a lot of time to experiment here and see what they can do. But right now it's been a very solid start to the season. And in addition to that, speaking on it, John Clark says that, quote, "I'm told the Sixers like the depth they have and the Bulls' high salary players may not be a fit," aka the Zach LaVines of the world, the DeMar DeRozans of the world. We talked about these guys a lot in the offseason because DeMar is on a contract year and Zach LaVine is on a big contract, but he's in his prime essentially. And you look at the Bulls, they had an unfortunate situation with Lonzo Ball. They have a couple other players they signed in the offseason, which to me didn't really make a lot of sense. They were going back and forth. And then really the one that kicked it off that really confused me was re-signing Vucevic the way that they did. And it just seems like they're stuck in the middle. I don't think they have the talent to be a championship team. They're not going to be a bottom barrel team, but they're just going to be right in the middle. And in addition to Zach LaVine, another player right now whose name is widespread, he's had a really solid start to the year, who could be available is Alex Caruso. Now, Chicago Bulls Central put this on Twitter. According to Bobby Marks, Alex Caruso is seen as a more valuable piece than Zach LaVine. I don't know if I would agree with that, but I think more value in terms of bang for your buck, right? Because of Alex Caruso's contract. And I want to talk about that because I was going to pull up the contracts and all, but shout out to Brian Toporek, who always does a great job. He put a full extensive article here on Liberty Ballers. Check it out. But I want to read a couple excerpts from here because I think they're important to keep in mind. Zach LaVine is currently in the second season of a 5-year, $215.2 million contract, $40 million this year, $43 next year, $46 the next year, and then a $49 million player option. If the Sixers acquire him ahead of the trade deadline, their cap space plan in 24 will be up in smoke. The Sixers have been all about future flexibility, trying to open up a couple max slots so they can go out and get some guys this upcoming summer. But at the point we're at, do they need that? What should they do? If you go out and get LaVine, this is essentially replacing going out to do that, right? Like you're essentially almost signing a max player now in Zach LaVine and you're bringing him in. So then you start to look at, okay, what's the fit like? Do you want to make that big of a change with how this team has been playing? Again, I think you need to evaluate. I think you need to take some time and see how this really plays out over the first quarter of the season before the trade deadline and to see where it goes with that. But in addition to Zach LaVine, and Brian does say here it's fair to be worried about LaVine's knees holding up. He's had multiple injuries in his career and the defensive fit with Maxey and LaVine. But Alex Caruso, what did I say? Bang for your buck, right? Caruso is earning $9.5 million this year and is under contract for $9.9 next year. Only $3 million is guaranteed until June 30th. Alex Caruso is on one of the best contracts in the NBA right now. And when you look at his fit, sure, he's not a top tier playmaker, right? He's a backup guard, but what he really does is press the ball. He's an amazing defender. I mean, he's had some really key possessions so far this season. And he's just a lockdown. He's a lockdown guy off the bench. He's a high energy guy. And man, in a Nick Nurse system, would this guy flourish? He would be able to switch everything. He'd be able to guard at least 3 positions. And he would really just kind of bring probably what the Sixers need right now in terms of some backup playmaking at the guard position. Caruso would be a really good fit. And to get him for under $10 million would be huge, especially next year as well. He is on one of the best contracts right now. I think he's very underrated, undervalued, and man, Caruso would be great on this team. Now, Toporek does say, the Sixers would still be able to use cap space this summer to sign a free agent or acquire another star. The guys on the books and Caruso, Springer, Paul Reed under contract. Sixers could keep the cap holds of Maxey, Melton, and KJ Martin on their books and still have nearly $33 million in cap space. Now, again, if they go out and make one of these trades, Marcus Morris will probably be the salary filler. It could be Batum or Covington, but those guys are playing consistent minutes right now. So who knows how that would go. In terms of the LaVine fit, though, I do want to say, as it relates to LaVine, I'm not against him as a player. I actually really think he's a good player. And I think people are so quick to, talk about, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that. Well, LaVine can give you 20, 25 a game. LaVine can play on or off the ball. He could be a microwave scorer. There are going to be nights where, say, Embiid's cold or Maxey's cold, LaVine could step up. He could take the rock in his hands and go for 30 points. Some nights he may be inefficient where he goes, 1 for 10, and he doesn't really look too hot. But He can get involved in different ways. He's athletic. I think he's a better defender than people give him credit for. He does have his inefficiencies. He does have his liabilities, but so does every player, right? The reason I'm not ready to make the trade right now is just because I love the chemistry and I love the way that the Sixers are playing. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think bringing in LaVine might alter the chemistry even with Tobias Harris. And Tobias is playing really good right now. He's giving you 20 a game. And what has happened in the past, you bring guys in, you bring Harden in, Tobias essentially loses all confidence. He loses his role. He gets stuffed into a corner. And I know people are going to say, well, who knows if Tobias can keep this up long term? Can he, prove himself in the playoffs because he hasn't yet? Well, can LaVine do that? We don't know. We don't know. I'm just saying, I think it would be a little bit of an awkward fit if Tobias is still here. Unless he's involved in the deal, you move Tobias, you bring in LaVine, Caruso, something like that. That's completely different. But if Tobias is still here, I just don't know about having all these guys that constantly need the ball in their hands to make plays. And again, LaVine can play off the ball, but we haven't seen it that much, right? And I think the Maxey leap is what changes everything. I think Maxey going into that next tier, being able to take 25, 30 shots a night completely changes everything. So what would the role be like? I'm sure they could figure it out. I'm sure Zach LaVine would be a great player on this team, but it's just about figuring it all out, seeing where you're at in terms of a position to go out and sign another big player this offseason. And I think your options are flexible right now, but Caruso would be a great piece. And the Bulls are imploding. I told you it was going to happen. And soon they will be doing a fire sale. And the Bulls are downhill. They are done. And we'll see how the rest of the teams play out. But those are my thoughts. Those are my quick thoughts. Give me yours down below. Do you want to see Zach LaVine on the Sixers? Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I will catch you all on the next one. Peace.